Hello friends, welcome to a video on 100 most know one word substitutions. A person who doesn't believe in God, he called as atheist. A person who loves mankind, he called as philanthropist. A person who hates mankind, he called as misanthrope. A person who knows everything, he called as omnipresent. A person who can do anything, he called as omnipotent. A person who is all present, he called as omnipresent. A person who loves himself, called as narcissist. A person who talks too much, called as loquacious. A person who speaks less, reticent. A person who eats human flesh, called as cannibal. A person who eats too much, he called as glutton. A person who is indifferent to pleasure or pain, called as stoic. A person who pretends to have moral standards, hypocrite. A person who loves books, bibliophile. A person who hates books, bibliophobe. A person who can speak many languages, polyglot. A person who cannot read or write, illiterate. A person who writes dictionaries, lexicographer. A person who compiles maps, cartographer. A person who studies earthquakes, seismologist. A person who studies plants, called as botanist. A person who studies animals, called as zoologist. A person who studies rocks, called as geologist. A person who studies human mind, called as psychologist. A person who studies ancient remains, called as archaeologist. A person who studies stars and space, called as astronomer. A person who studies weather, called as meteorologist. A person who treats skin diseases, called as dermatologist. A person who treats teeth, called as dentist. A person who treats eye diseases, called as ophthalmologist. A person who treats children, called as pediatrician. A person who treats old people, called as geriatrician. A person who treats mental illness, called as psychiatrist. A person who treats heart disease, called as cardiologist. A person who treats cancer, called as oncologist. A person who treats bones, called as orthopedist. A person who treats lungs, called as pulmonologist. A person who treats female disorders, called as gynecologist. A person who treats kidney diseases, called as nephrologist. A person who treats blood diseases, called as hematologist. A place where birds are kept, aviary. A place where animals are kept, zoo. A place where coins are made, mint. A place where bread is made, bakery. A place where clothes are washed, laundry. A place where books are kept, library. A place where wine is made, winery. A place where weapons are kept, arsenal. A place where soldiers live, barracks. A place where monks live, monastery. A speech made without preparation, extempore. A speech in praise of someone, eulogy. A speech by one person, monologue. A speech by two people, dialogue. A speech by many, colloquy. A speech too long and dull, harangue. A short witty remark, epigram. A short story with a moral, fable. A long heroic poem, epic. A life story written by oneself, autobiography. A life story written by another, biography. A story with imaginary characters, fiction. A story with real facts, non-fiction. A remedy for all diseases, panacea. A remedy for toothache, analgesic. A medicine to induce sleep, sedative. A medicine to kill germs, antiseptic. A medicine to prevent infection, vaccine. A medicine to kill insects, insecticide. A medicine to destroy rats, rodenticide. A person who walks while sleeping, somnambulist. A person who eats while sleeping, somnophagist. A person who loves darkness, nyctophile. A person who fears darkness, nyctophobe. A person who fears water, hydrophobic. A person who fears height, acrophobic. A person who fears open spaces, agoraphobic. A person who fears confined spaces, claustrophobic. A person who fears spiders, arachnophobic. A person who fears snakes, ophidophobic. A government by the people, democracy. A government by one person, autocracy. A government by rich people, plutocracy. A government by few people, oligarchy. A government by priests, theocracy. A government by nobles, aristocracy. A government without ruler, anarchy. A government by officials, bureaucracy. A government by military, junta. A government by mob, mobcracy. A thing that cannot be seen, invisible. A thing that cannot be heard, inaudible. A thing that cannot be read, illegible. A thing that cannot be repaired, irreparable. A thing that cannot be avoided, inevitable. A thing that cannot be cured, incurable. A thing that cannot be defeated, invincible. A thing that cannot be changed, immutable. A thing that cannot be believed, incredible. A thing that cannot be explained, inexplicable. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel.